It's increasingly shaping as a consequential contest marked by political machination. The race to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta is on, with leading politicians traversing the country, selling their agenda, laced with plenty of promises. Tonight on Pundits Night, we look at the race to State House. Good evening, I'm Abubakar Abdullahi. Welcome to the broadcast. As always, remember you can be part of these discussions. Send us a message on 22047. The hashtag to use is Pundits Night. Just a reminder of who our guests are tonight. Deragwa Member of Parliament, Jeremiah Kioni, and Nimrod Mbai, Kitui East lawmaker. Gentlemen, good evening. Thank you for your time tonight. Good evening, Abubakar. All right, Mheshimiwa Jeremiah Kioni, let me start with you. And you are quite in the headlines for a bill that we will want to start from, the Constitutional Amendment, National Assembly Bill 20, number 40 out of 2020. A bill that many have referred to it as a BBI through backdoor. Is it?
One is thank you for having us, or having me here this evening. And I want to thank you for the work that you continue to do, educating Kenyans, or allowing Kenyans to discuss different issues so that we are able to make better decisions going into the future. The bill that is before Parliament, because it has gone through the Committee of CIOC, Constitution Implementation and Oversight Committee, is a bill that deals with or provides that those who have been elected as members of Parliament can have a take as cabinet. And also that those elected as members of the county assembly can have a take at county executive committee members. And it also provides for some of the functions. It also allows the president to assign functions of cabinet nature to the attorney general, as and when those functions need to be done by the legal advisor to the government. So, and it is good to say that that's a bill that we had started working on even before the conceiving of BBI. It may contain provisions that were provided for within the BBI, but we were not prompted by BBI to draft that bill. We had done it as members of committee of CIOC, and we did it because some of us have experiences that span beyond the current constitution. We have that institutional memory. And again, we were also involved in the making of the constitution that is before us. We remember clearly what the debates were, and we have had an opportunity to conduct public participation. Members of the public agree that the previous way of managing our affairs was more effective, more efficient, and actually more cost-effective than the one that we have. So it may look like the BBI, or it may sound like it has provisions of the BBI nature, but members of Parliament are elected to think, to reason, to legislate, and what is important is the product and what does it intend to cure.
Fair enough.
As opposed to the mischief or misgivings that may come along with the proposals that are on the table.
And you say it may look like the BBI, given that this bill is giving the president sweeping powers to either hire or fire his deputy, the creation of 2 deputy president positions, a new push that will see the president name ministries from elected members of parliament. One would argue there is quite a similarity with BBI if this is not an attempt to salvage.
Sorry, before my colleague comes in.
Yes.
That is not number 40. Number 40 is a bill that has gone through first reading. We have had public participation. Is already before Parliament. What you've read is the bill that we worked on, and it is now before Parliament for purposes of pre-publication scrutiny. It is not the number 40. The number 40 is way ahead of the pack. It is the one I was describing. The one you're talking about is talking about the creation of offices of the Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, and also the issue of how can the President relieve the Deputy President in the event that he finds it necessary, and what kind of approval must he get from Parliament. I think that's the one that you seem to have read. It is a bill that, when BBI was defeated by Parliament, by the judiciary, or when the BBI processing of the BBI document was defeated by the courts, the problems that were being addressed by the document are still with us. It's important to know that the problem did not disappear because the court stopped what was there. The problems are with us. And as elected leaders, it is upon us to come up with different ideas of how can we resolve the issues that are there. And at any given time, it is to look at the proposal that we have, like a committee, and any other proposal others want to have. And that is a debate that would help us move forward. And as I bring
Mheshimiwa Nimrod to the discussion, you say the problems are with us, and what needs to be addressed has not been addressed. But given that these are creation of offices, Kenyans will suppose that is not necessarily their problem, is it, Jeremiah Kioni?
One is that I think it is important to understand this issue, and I wish it was clear to me. I would have brought you some graph cooperation. What is it that we are trying to cure? You will see that the graph of Kenya is like this. You know, you have the swings that are there. If you draw the graph like this, you have like that, like that, like that. And this point, the tanking point, there, we are able to go up there when we have no elections. So the economic growth is up there. But when elections are being done, we tank below zero. And again, we grow, but when you have elections, another 5 years, we tank below zero. What the economists have shown us, and it is going to be demonstrated in the coming days, is that every 5 years, we are losing 600 billion shillings. Why? Because we have very corrosive politics in this country, which does not allow the economic growth to continue at any high point. We first of all we actually drop to zero every 5 years. So it's like we are starting, and as I cede ground to my colleague, in every 5 years of development, or in every term of 5 years, we have 3 years that are lost. A year where we prepare for elections, like now we are preparing for next year, that is 2021. We have the year of elections, that is 2022. And we have another year to try and recover of 2023. These 3 years are marked with almost zero economic growth. We have only 2 years in 5 years to grow our economy.
All right.
And if we do not do something to these issues, then the young people in this country will never leave a university and get employment the way we should, because there is no investor who would want to come and invest where there are only 2 years in 5 years for him to ever think of earning or getting back his capital, investment on his capital. All right,
let me bring in Mheshimiwa Nimrod Mbai to the discussion. Mheshimiwa, talking of the remedies that the BBI was proposing, the solutions that were fronted as though they will cure some of Kenya's perennial problems. That process has been dented by the courts. The appeal is now at the Supreme Court. Nonetheless, are there genuine problems that the BBI process was trying to address?
Thank you, Abakar, for hosting me, and my elder, actually, is my father in the house, I can say.
Thank you for that honor.
I've seen him when he was there, and now we are together in it. And also for your TV station, for really, you are growing and you are making it out there. Looking at the BBI process, we know there is a process and there is a contents. So many people, we differed in both. We differed in there was discussion about the content, and there was discussions about the process. And the court, the High Court especially, the High Court and the Court of Appeal were very specific in addressing the process and the contents. You know, they put them in legal terms, so most of people could not understand. But the process was illegal. The way it was originated, the way things were put in, public participation, the way the counter assemblies approved it. So there was serious flaws in the process. Then when we come to the content, yes, there were realistic things, issues that could solve some problems in our country. And there were the others which would actually escalate problems in our country. So, also some of these were pronounced during the court processes. Giving an example of regulation of the judiciary, where the proposal was you need an ombudsman who has been appointed by the president, that is the executive, to oversee judiciary. You know, that is condemned, and it was backward. You know, we can't discuss freedom of our courts and the same time bring in executive to have control. So the process which was trying to usher in this was flawed, and some condemns, actually 3/4, or let's say 90% of the condemns were also not popular in terms of sorting our problems and helping Mwananchi.
You say the content was flawed. This is a project the president has fashioned as a legacy project in attempting to leave a united Kenya. You don't view it that way?
You know, the intentions are good. Let's say the president's intentions were good, to help the country and to propel the country to the next level, and also make, but the process in which he tried to do it was flawed, basically, because there are ways, it is very clear in our constitution. So, and the president, or they were divided, basically, I can say so, never bothered to follow the process rightfully. They tried to use other means, through use of force. Remember, so some people used to try to use very tough words, or now they will push the whole thing to Kenyans. And because this can be changed through the popular initiative, that is Mwananchi, Wanjiku, originating the whole thing independently, or through Parliament, a bill in Parliament, the way Mheshimiwa Kioni now is talking with the Bill 40 and the other one which is also coming in. So the process was completely flawed. It's not good. As per our constitution, it was wrong. No matter how the content looked like, but the process was wrong.
All right, let me bring in Mheshimiwa Kioni to the discussion, and feel free to each react to others' comments.
Maybe Abakar, before you go.
Okay, go ahead.
The other thing which was flawed, which was basically a con to Kenyans, is the timing. Because how do you discuss changing the constitution when we have serious problems in our country? And this is a process that is we are going to spend time on. This is a process that we were to spend serious monies on, and instead of focusing on the Big Four agenda and other economic recovery programs and how we are going to fight COVID, at the midst of that, we get the whole government machinery concentrating on change of the constitution, just some bits which are benefiting a small clique, actually the political clique.
And to be fair, Mheshimiwa Mbai, this is a byproduct of a handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader in 2018. It wasn't necessarily a last-minute push proposal, was it?
And also,
it wasn't, and it was. Because initially, when the president met with the handshake, was made to bring peace in the country, and the people who are appointed to work on around the handshake, these were people who were not qualified in terms of they can make a constitution. You remember the Ashpal guy? You could see legal minds. You could see people who were brought there out of qualifications to come up with a new constitution.
All right.
But the handshake team, you could see elders from the village, church leaders. Originally, it could tell you the people who are appointed were about peace in the country, bring communities together, but not coming up with a new constitution. But midway, now they were changed to and given a new mandate, to handle constitution. So
All right,
somebody
fair enough. Point made. Let me give Jeremiah Kioni a chance to respond.
Even before you ask me something, I think I want to start from where you have stopped. The Rigomites. Constitution are not made by lawyers. Constitution are made by ordinary Kenyans, ordinary people in a country, and then whatever they have said can be clothed into a legal language by lawyers. Because the law is not to govern lawyers. Law is to help ordinary people live together. And they must say it in their own language, in their own words, and then lawyers can come and clothe that into a legal document. But to say that the people who are making the constitution did not have a legal mind is a very dangerous thing, because you are saying we should have lawyers, perhaps packed in parliament, because that is where the lawmaking is done. And it is important to encourage Kenyans to know that every Kenyan, irrespective of your line of training, it's good to know that you can lead and write. You should not hesitate to run for a position in parliament and come and help us make the laws. You can actually say it in your own language. It has to be done in Kiswahili these days and English. So it's not really right to say that BBI did not have legal minds. We actually don't even want lawyers making those initial documents. Let them be left with the final documents. The other thing that I want to say is that one of the other dangerous rulings that came from that court and the Court of Appeal is that they actually killed a very innovative part of our constitution, where Wajiko could initiate a process of changing the constitution. But the ruling clearly, if it is not tampered with, if it is not changed by the Supreme Court, completely kills the Wajiko initiative. Wajiko cannot be able to organize public participation in 47 counties. It costs you up to 90 million shillings to do public participation in the 47 counties. Wajiko cannot be able to call a constituent assembly of about 1,000 people from every of our constituencies and assemble them in Bomas. Wajiko cannot be able to carry out civic education. It will cost Wajiko up to 13 billion shillings. What does that mean? If Wajiko then has to meet this cost, what the courts of Kenya did, which I think is treasonable, was to open up the process of amending our constitution to foreigners, to donors, who would then have said executive should not be seen to be helping in the amendment of the constitution, or should not be seen to be playing any part in the popular initiative. It does not matter what the courts said. If we were resolving, if we were amending the constitution so that the Wajiko can be able to get bursary to pay school fees for the children, and the courts killed BBI because they said the process was wrong, Wajiko has still not taken the child to school. Wajiko is still waiting for the bursary to take her child to school. As a leader, the problem is still with Wajiko. The courts may have said this, but Wajiko is still having the problem as it is. And perhaps as I allow my colleagues to weigh on this, there are some other important issues that were contained in the document that were not mentioned, including what is my problem that is almost personal. We have 27 constituencies that are going to die after the next voting day, for the reason that we do not have the numbers requisite or required by the constitution to sustain a constituency. We need 164,000 members per constituency for you to be allowed to elect a member of parliament. In Daragwa, we are 98,000. This BBI was giving us a life and saying we remain protected, but to be fair to those constituencies that have huge numbers, we also subdivide them so that the numbers come nearer equal to where we are or where other constituencies are. That was killed by the constitution, by the BBI, and by the courts.
Fair enough,
and
Jeremiah
what it means now is that there are 27 constituencies in this country, spread across 16 counties, that would be asking next year, what is the reason of our going to vote? How can I go to vote to kill my electoral unit? As it becomes clearer and clearer to our people, then the courts will realize what kind of a fix they have put the country in. I finish by saying this. The judiciary have made very interesting rulings in the recent past. In fact, if you want everything declared null and void, just go to our courts. Huduma number, we have BBI, CAS, parastatus, The taxation measures that we were there, anything you take before our courts, they actually declare it null and void.
But the courts are making this determination based on the law, isn't it? They are not making this determination out of a personal frustration.
I hear you, Abukar, I agree. But if the determination is not for a public good, it is of no value to us.
All right.
And I want to say this. If you ask me, I think the courts are walking into a very tight rope, and sooner than later, you will find Kenyans getting fed up with our court system. It is actually the same court that released Wajara the other day. And there he is now. So the judgments that are made by our courts must be for the public good. They will have been asked by the prosecution, do not release Wajara. He is likely to face the wrath of the case.
Bottom line is,
when you don't interpret the law to serve us,
are making these cases based on the law and where they are operating in.
And
by the
way, I said this as you go to Nimrod. One of the things we should never allow in this country is this business of being a lawyer with 1 degree, and then you are made to sit in front of us to make judgment on our issues. You will read
these are qualified judges who are making this determination.
The qualification is not having a degree.
All right.
It is having to live the life.
All right, Nimrod.
Abubakar, some things is good we just be truthful to ourselves. Mheshimiwa Kioni tried to qualify the BBI contents through actually what the proponents were trying to tell Kenyans. And I respect Mheshimiwa Kioni out of his wisdom and age, and especially service in parliament. But I will actually request to differ with him on this one. And he knows it very well. As I say, young kids medication, you find a syrup which is so sweet. And in our days, children medication was so bitter to take. What has happened is you just put in some sugar and some colors, and kids will love them and take them without problems. So there is a lot of sugary thing, which was sugaring now the real poison in the BBI. The real intentions of BBI were being sugar-coated by their constituencies which to be protected. For heaven's sake, Parliament, as we speak today, there is no reason Parliament cannot protect those constituencies through the amendment of the law. There were issues like, because some of the things, the critical things, like a process which was being pushed to Kenyans at a very wrong time. And for it to go through, it was sugar-coated with some very small things, which would make it look like it is necessary, while it was not that necessary. It can wait. It could have. It can wait.
And you say it's not that necessary, despite your party leader saying it is of necessity to his legacy.
No, in Jubilee, we have rights of... Jubilee, we are democratic.
All right.
Yeah, you don't have to agree with the party leader.
All right.
We have talked that we even allow rebellious members of parliament.
And we will come to that of the rebellion. We have exhausted on the BBI. Jeremiah Kioni, let me ask you this, Mheshimiwa.
No, but have you allowed him to get away with the Manda? He has said that the Prime Minister's position and the Deputy Prime Minister's position were going to cost us. The truth of it is, the Prime Minister was going to be a member of Parliament. At most, Kibaki, the only amount of money that you get on top of being a member of Parliament, if you are given the position of a cabinet minister, and Laida was a prime minister during our time, it's 100,000 shillings. That is the amount of money that Kenyans are being told was going to cost them.
All right, we have
exhausted.
Of them,
300,000 shillings.
We have exhausted.
So when you talk about the cost of, look at the cost of the killings that we had 2007, and how much you would have solved it if people knew that they were going to be somewhere near government, and 300,000 shillings that you are going to incur in a month or per month by having these 3-4 gentlemen.
And we have quite exhausted. We have exhausted on that. I want us to move from that.
Maybe before
I'll give you a chance, Nimrod. I'll give you a chance. Jeremiah Kioni, let's move from BBI now to some of the proposals, which is to give the president powers to hire and fire his deputy. Given the standoff between the president and his deputy, will it be fair for some to point fingers at that proposal of yours and say it's a witch hunt to the deputy president, it's a witch hunt to whoever will be wanting to be a deputy president in the future?
One is that the proposal we have does not give president powers to hire and fire. I will clarify what powers it does. But the other important one is that it is meant to deal with the current deputy president. Far from it. In fact, far from the truth. yet another of the propaganda statements that will be out there, courtesy of the wing that now is served by my able member, whom I'm sitting with. He belongs to that wing that is very destructive, a wing that is very good in sending out propaganda. And they talk about propaganda, and you believe that you think that this is a statement written by either Muhammad or Jesus. And I tell you, give them the credit. They have done it for 4 years. We have worked to do and undo it. In our region, we have started doing it, and you can actually see the effect of what, by the kind of reception Raila is receiving in that area. Not to say that Raila is the preferred candidate, but to see that initially nobody thought any other person would have had audience other than perhaps the deputy president. The final stages of processing it are done by the scrutiny, the budget office. And I hope they will not be used to block it, because they have been used before to block very useful legislative instruments. Has nothing to do with the current deputy president. By the time it comes into force, he will have long left the office of the deputy president, because you cannot process a constitutional amendment in a month or two like you do an ordinary piece of registration. So this is a thing. By the time it comes into action, towards maybe the end of the term of parliament, it has nothing to do with him as a person. But we have learned lessons from the way those offices have been conducted, have conducted themselves in the last 10 years. And one of the things that we have continued being asked when we were going for public participation on amendments of other sections of the Constitution. And virtually in every sitting that we had was, how is it that a person can rebel to a president we elected? Why is it, how did we do a constitution that cannot allow the president to deal with his deputy if he is fomenting a rebellion, or if he is distracting him from delivering on the promises that they did? So we did not go through that route. What we did is say that other than the provisions that have been provided for in the Constitution as they are today, what we are then saying is that president still can come to Parliament and ask for or recommend the removal of his deputy, but Parliament must approve. The only thing we have done is to lower the threshold from the super majority to a threshold that will also make the president, one, he must talk to Parliament for Parliament to approve, but also the deputy president will stop feeling indispensable, and he cannot do the things we've seen the current deputy do. Blatantly disregard the advice from his senior, move around the country and get us away from what we wanted to do, and start agitating like he belonged to the opposition.
And Jeremiah Kioni, is that primarily and partly not because he's not a political appointee?
It is a proposal to try and bring order in the government, as opposed to try and giving power, sweeping powers to anybody. But we need a government that functions. A government that functions and serves Kenyans, but not a government that is permanently at war with each other. And you are not walking away, you are not resigning, but you have chosen to become a nuisance to the system just to distract the other one, or you start campaigning for your own term while you are still in office and you have not delivered on what you promised. So that is a proposal to help us deal with that. But I would really want to hear what better proposals can come from Nimrod, as opposed to saying that mine is not right.
Jeremiah Kioni, given that this is a position occupied by someone who, unlike the previous vice presidents, is not a political appointee, someone who publicly brags of bringing 50% of the government to the table, you will understand hiring and firing may be...
and the danger is this. If the deputy president, the current deputy president, this country would have been in pieces. He would clearly have taken one part of the country away from the other, and we'll be dealing with the two countries. If we want to remain as one unit, we must ensure that the power is domiciled in one office and not look like it can be there, it can be available to any other office. We need the power with the president, whom we give the vote. His deputy should be available when he has been given a side. when we are looking for votes.
All right, let me bring in Nimrod Mbai to the discussion. We are having this discussion of the powers to fire and hire, primarily also because of the backdrop of a very public exchange between the president and his deputy. I can quote what they have both said, that the president says, and I quote, "I have an agenda." DP responded sometimes back saying, "I am a man of a vision and I have no space to retreat and the luxury of to surrender rather." Given there is a public back and forth between them, in as late as today, the president saying that he will direct the mountain to a region, to a side rather, that he is politically aware of. Should a deputy president who is cited as though he is competing and campaigning at a time when he should be delivering services resign rather?
Thank you, Abubakar. You know, before the 2010 constitution was promulgated, or back up to when we got independence, the constitution that we had had given the president powers to fire the vice president. And the wisdom that made the 2010 constitution to come up with these new provisions that the president should not have powers to fire his deputy. There was wisdom in that. And also the president should not appoint, or rather we have a president who is an appointee. We should have a vice president who is elected together with that wisdom is critical, and to me that's where the real issues lie. We wait falls vacant. The person holding the office of the president is a human being. In case of the office of the president falls vacant, the deputy president will become the president for the remainder of the term. This person becoming the president in the remainder of the term, for heaven's sake, should have some qualifications. And to me, and to democracy, one of the qualifications is to be elected by the people. You can't just serve as a president by being appointed by somebody who has been elected. You need to have been elected by the people. Secondly, how would we give the president powers? If, let's say, the president was, we know if the president, in case the president is not there, and the person who is supposed to take over after the president is gone, or in case the president goes, how would we give this president powers to dismiss or to fire this person who is supposed to take over from him?
Fair enough.
You see
Fair
that
enough. Let me interject you at that point. And the dispute rather is not on the question of the qualification or the existence of that person in that office. The query is, this is a deputy president who, as we have seen, is alleged to be campaigning very public of wanting to be the next president when his boss is still in office. That is the worry, isn't it?
I think that's where we should go.
Let me help you.
Just a minute.
All right, I surrender.
Yes, so thank you. I like you for that. You know, these are allegations in the first place. They may be true, they may be false. But I think it's one thing we'll have to come to agree with is Kenya continues. Look at this. We are serving our last term. Mheshimiwa Kioni is the president, and his deputy. We are serving our last term. And Kioni will not look for re-election. He will retire. And as his deputy, I will have to look for re-election. You are telling me to sleep for the 5 years to come and start campaigning the last minute because I expect the president to say my deputy is Tosha. What if he doesn't say? You know, we've seen. Let me give you a typical.
For 4 years.
But the question is,
yes,
the question is campaigning in the first year of the first 5 years of the second term, isn't it?
Yes, which is actually too short. You know, for you to campaigning for president in this country, going around this country to become the president, and if you are not tried again another term. You know, somebody like Raila has contested for like 6 times. So he's well known in the country. Somebody who has never tried to become a president in this country, for you to have structures across the country and set up structures across the country, my friend, and maybe you are an hustler, you don't have enough machinery. I think it's not true. And the future presidents will have to come to agree with this. I'll be very happy to see Jeremiah Kioni being a president.
All right, let me bring Kioni, go ahead.
Let me answer you. Mheshimiwa, even with your bottom-down approach of way of reviving our economy, would never work if your deputy is campaigning from the first day of being in office. That is what the deputy has done to Uhuru. So it does not matter what economic model you have for this country. For as long as we are politicking 24/7, our youth will continue being unemployed. There will not be employment that we'll be able to create in 2 years. And I mentioned, remember, every time we have elections, we lose 600 billion shillings. And let me say this. One of the reasons why this government was unable to create enough employment opportunity for the young people is because of this campaigning that was being done by the deputy president from day one. Secondly, let me say this, for the purposes of informing, I want to inform you. I want to inform you. But allow me just humble yourself a little and allow me to say this, because the other thing is this. Why we created the position of the deputy president, again, because I have that in memory and of the history that was around the making of the position of the deputy president, was because Moi stayed without a vice president for a period of 12, 15, 18 months before the of term 2002. And we say it as people who then had the opportunity of drafting the constitution. This is the most irresponsible thing a president can do. What do we do to force a president to always have a deputy? That is when we said, get him to have a deputy before he is elected into office, so that he has a deputy all through his being in parliament. But we also made it very clear that deputy would not be given any powers, because we do not want to create two centers of authority in a country. The country will collapse. What we have now seen is, because there is that constitutional protection to that office, the deputy decides to become a rogue. He decides to go out and start rebelling against the president. And what we have ended up with is really wasted a lot of time when he would have been creating employment for the young people.
Jeremiah Kioni, this is equally a deputy president who was very publicly promised of kumi yangu kumi yake, who through other calculations saw someone else, a political, greet the president, and that position of preference seemingly be given to another person than him. You will understand, as a politician, he will react.
One of the things is that if I promise Nimrod votes coming 2022, difficult because we come from different parts of the country, he should always remember that I carry one vote. So whatever I promise, he should know that I only can promise my own vote. I cannot promise him even my wife's vote. Secondly,
this is a person who was promised of kumi yangu, kumi yako,
when some of these things, you must have the political, you must know the political engineering of everything and know what it is that you are being promised that can be delivered. If I promise you money, you can come and ask for the money. But you cannot tell me I promised you votes. Votes that I don't keep in a box to deliver to you. They belong to Kenyans. I would have to go and convince the Kenyans to vote for you. It is not a thing that I can bring like in a glass of water and give it to you. He has only one vote that he can promise to anybody. And I want to say this also. And equally, that promise was for sure ill. You are promising 10 years yangu, 10 years yako. 10 years down the line, my child, my son, who was in high school, and times even who was in, now come of age and he can vote. The things he would want to the things you would want addressed at his time are totally different from the things that existed 10 years ago. So the kind of person they may want could be very different from the pack that we are in. So really, when you think about this thing, think of, are you really telling me that your political acumenship is at that level, that you could not see this? And I say this, go back to the clips of 2013 when I was having an interview of a similar nature with AM Live, Nation TV, AM Live. Our anchor was Dibar. And I said, only person who has not been in politics can take that promise to be true. It is a promise that you make for the public to react to it. And remember what you were saying when you were passing the 2010 constitution. And Waitito was one of the person who was saying this. Vijana wanafurahia sana. Because these are things you say. But there are things you say on those political platforms. And if you are a politician who takes some of those things seriously, then there comes a question. Are you really a serious politician?
Nimrod?
Yeah, thank you, Baraka. And I would want you to give me time to go through some of these things.
Na pia ukubuke mwenye macho hajui tazama.
Yes, because we have to be realistic, and that's why there has been this discussion of political conmanship. Why should you tell the public something that will make them change their mind and follow you or follow a certain idea when you know what you are telling them is not the truth, or it's not what is in the document, or it is not what you stand for? Why can't you say what you stand for? As in this constitution is very clear, askari police will arrest you the way they've been arresting you. Either you pass it like that or you leave it. Instead of telling the youth, utawekwa pingu, unasema weka mkono pamoja tafadhali sijui nini. You know, it's like what we are seeing today, someone saying, I'll give 6,000 to the youth, which is our economic. We'll have the same thing. A few youths being called to get the 6,000, then the rest made this, I said this thing, so it can't be supported. Getting back to the point, Mheshimiwa Kioni to qualify is not to deliver. How was the deputy president meant to the president not to deliver? As in, the president is the president, he has the system, there is what we call the government structure, which works on daily basis with or without the president, and that's where now things are run.
But the deputy president, let me interject you there. The deputy president is also, the deputy president himself is on record saying the government's priorities have been hijacked by others, saying we couldn't deliver on some promises because others came into our government. He is admitting, at least.
Yes, and you know that's the reality. Because there are things which we promised to the public, and now it has been hijacked. And as the deputy, and as somebody who promised the public during the electoral period, I have seen things have changed midstream because some people have come to our government who are not there. So what is wrong with saying it? And how does saying it affect performance of the president? For heaven's sake. How does my talking affect performance of the president? How is my talking here affecting your performance, Bakar? No, that is the critical thing. And Mheshimiwa Kioni has gone ahead and said, if the current deputy president was as powerful as Raila, this country would have been divided into two. As in, the only thing we can say is if the deputy president was as careless as Raila, this country would have been broken into two. Because the deputy president is doing his politics and at the same time supporting the president. There is no time we've ever seen the deputy president not in support of the president. The deputy president has gone out there, launched projects, said the president has done this and have been sent to come and launch this, or make the contractor finish this, come and supervise so that wananchi are served at the right pace or in the right manner. So how is that affecting the president from performing? Actually, that is enhancing, and that is the work of the deputy president to assist the president in... the only thing that the deputy president cannot assist the president actually is the CNC, Commander-in-Chief. All these other duties, and you saw even the president nominating the deputy president to be president, to hold brief for him when he was going to the Hague. But, you know, there are things which can't stop others. There is no reasoning at all. When we talk of... because politicking will always go through. Actually, this thing of economy, we're drawing here, that we politic for 5 years, then it goes up, then it goes down, we politic for another 5 years, the economy comes down. If we have to grow our economy, we'll have to understand how to grow our economy amidst that politics. And you can't grow our economy amidst that politics, then you have no business being our president. Because we will not stop
Nimrod,
our politics. Kenya will not stop politicking.
You say the deputy president has helped and is helping the president to deliver. Is that included when we see in public the deputy president say he has an idea of transforming the economy, he has the bottom-up approach that he will want to implement come 2022 if he is elected a president? You know, that Kenya will have a better government if he is the president?
The deputy president has answered that question before, and he has been very clear. Between now and 2022, the person running the government is the president. What he can do is only advise the president. And if the president chooses to take his advice, then that will happen. If the president chooses to work otherwise, then he has no room. If the deputy president has advised the president about bottom-up today, and the president has not taken it up, So the deputy president has to wait. He has no choice. He has to wait until 2022. And if God allows him to be the president, then now he'll be the man calling the shots. He can go ahead and implement this idea.
Why wait when he is the deputy, the second in command?
But he is there to assist. He is there to advise. You are not there to do. You are not the executive.
And you believe he has advised to an extent of wanting to change the economy?
Because they had agreed through advising one another on the Big Four agenda.
All right.
That was stopped through by this BBI and Reggae, which was not part of his thinking. And he advised the president about it. Actually, it is illegal. You remember in Bomas, the deputy president stood there and said very strong things, and it has come to pass through the courts. This was a very innocent deputy president trying to advise his president, but the president turned this down because another team had come now to work with the president and derail him. And was,
I think he is referring to the time when
was very vibrant.
You are referring to the time when you were in Bomas, when they were launching the BBI.
Yes.
When the president started telling us the truth about his deputy, and the deputy went and begged him to stop. And the president was kind enough to stop.
How do you know what
all right, gentlemen.
That's the thing.
All right, gentlemen. Kioni, as I give you a right to reply, let me ask you this as you respond. I want us to move from the deputy president and to the 2022 race, and whereas many have a constitutional right, is it, as some say, already taken shape as a two-horse race, or how many horses, in your view, Jeremiah Kioni?
One of the things I want to say is this: Nimrod is a very close associate of the deputy president. In fact, I believe that the deputy president takes him as one of the close advisors. And if what he has said is anything to go by, if this is the kind of advice that they have been offering to the deputy president, then I think what he has done today is to convince me beyond any reasonable doubt they have no capacity, and they should not be granted an opportunity to lead this country. This country is suffering because of too much, it's very corrosive politicking. We are losing 600 billion shillings every time we are having elections in this country, and we cannot say that we can grow the economy in the kind of political environment that we have had in the last 4 years. As I move to your question, let me say this. Evidently, when the government was under the coordination of the deputy president, that was the first term of the Jubilee government, we had very many scandals. What any of us would have thought Jubilee was going to be under. And very little delivery was done. Under the second term of government, when the president chose to go and do politicking, if this is what Nimrod wanted to say, certainly we have seen development. We've seen very many roads being constructed. We have seen the scandals come down substantially. The steering from government has come down substantially. And we can only be left to conclude what that may mean going forward. And if we want the scandals to continue diminishing, if you want the stealing of money to continue going down, perhaps we need to look away from how the arrangement was 2013, 2017, and perhaps be happy more with what happened between 2017 and 2021, where we are. Is this a two-horse race? I don't know whether it is a two-horse race, but what I can tell you is that the eventual, given what I've seen in the last 2 weeks, if this trend continues, we are likely to end up with a very powerful president come 2022, a president who will have gotten for the first time a clear 65%, 70% of the votes, and that will be good for this country, because then you have a president who is going to manage the country with a better mandate than it was 2017, when we are looking at 50-50 case. And I believe that one of the things President Uhuru can give us as a gift is to ensure that the person who wins next year, the person who wins the office of the presidency next year, does it with a clear mandate, with a clear majority, so that we are not back to where we were 2017, looking for handshakes for purposes of you being able to function within parliament, but leaving us in a situation where we are looking for handshake for purposes of saying that it was not, I wasn't winning to subdue you. It was not a Manchester Arsenal competition where one must feel dejected. It is just a way of looking at who is going to preside over the affairs of our country in the coming 5 years. When we allow politics to come to that level, where we are only looking for somebody to preside, and you are not feeling humiliated when you are defeated, you are not feeling subdued when you are defeated, then we'll be able to grow our economy in a manner that it can provide employment opportunities for our young people. No economic model will work in this country until we fix the politics.
All right, and finally, Mheshimiwa Nimrod, is it as some equally say a two-horse race, or how many horses are in this race in your view?
You know, Abakar, before you go there is something my older father, he actually has said, that during the first regime of the Jubilee government, the government performed more than this second regime. That is
the other way around. I think I said the other way around.
No, you said the Kenyans have money in their pockets in between 2013 and 2017.
And the
only the Kenyans have money from 2017 and this handshake period, which are better economic times. And even yourself, Abakar, nobody has money today. Getting money is a challenge. Getting everything is a problem. What changed? Because the person who was advising the president on how to get money to people's pockets was shoved aside, and people who came up with capital projects which are not helping in giving money to and business to the small-scale business people came in. People who mind about their big pockets and the dynasty came in, and they don't care about the common mwananchi. The last mile connectivity. For the first time in between 2013 and 2017, we saw a lot of connections to the villages. Now we are seeing zero connectivity in the villages. Ask Mheshimiwa Kioni. I don't think he was there in that term.
And
but
as we finalize,
so many MPs, the way it was as easy to connect electricity to people in 2013, 2017, it is not that easy to connect people in the constituencies today. Now coming to the two-horse race.
Or how many horses in your view?
In our country, it has always been, I don't know, actually since independence. From the first term or time of Matiba, Kibaki and Moi, when it was about 3-horse race. Or the other electoral times, the ring, the Deputy President William Ruto. Because it's very clear out there, even a young kid can tell. If it is not Raila, it is Ruto. If it is not Ruto, it is Raila. And that's what the country is saying. And looking at the potentiality going forward, you don't see all the other donkeys making any chance of catching up. Mheshimiwa Kioni is one of his donkeys and he tried to assist it. It could not even move. Even himself, he decided not to push it and moved on. Because it's quite a challenge. Abakar, what we need to agree is this. We need change in this country.
I have a right to reply.
Yeah, we need change in this country. And for change to happen, some state what they will do differently. So we've been politicking the same way. It has not been easy to change our politics. We had a prime minister at some point actually in our lifetime, just the other day, and things never changed. We are saying when we reduce the prime minister, things will change.
And who do you believe will change things in your own view, as you summarize?
It will not change.
It will not?
It will not change. We had a prime minister, things never changed. We reduce our prime minister, things will not change. Because what will happen? If it's politics that is making us not develop or our development record go down, we need someone who can work on an economic model within the same setup and with the same political environment. You know, you can't give excuses. I'm the president, and because you guys are politicking so much, I can't do development. For goodness sake, then you resign.
Because of the interest,
someone who can do it.
Let me
just such a development, such a politics.
Point made. Because of the interest of time, Jeremiah.
Because you can't control
less than 10
politicking.
seconds.
If I want to talk, you can't control me.
Only a madman will do the things the same way and expect a different result. If we don't fix our politics, we will never be able to fix our economy. I was with Musalia Mudavadi 2013. He was not a donkey. He's a president in waiting. His time will come, and we had a good time. We introduced the position of the prime minister after the difficulties that we had. Our economy grew at 8%.
All right.
That model, that governance structure will always help this country do deputy prime ministers. It helps the economy to grow at 8%, something we have never achieved in the last 50 years.
All right, Jeremiah Kioni is the regular member of parliament. Nimrod Mbai is Kitui East lawmaker. Gentlemen, thank you for your time tonight on Pundits Night. Well, that brings us to the end of tonight's edition of Pundits Night. I'm Abubakar Abdullahi on behalf of the entire team that made this production possible. Bye for now. Enjoy the rest of our programs. The conversation continues online. Thanks for watching.